What's up, dudes? Max here with a huge update to Dragon Ball FighterZ. As we all know, Tien and Yamcha were the last couple characters that were revealed, and there seem to be plenty more on the horizon due to today's news, which is a couple of more announced characters, as well as some pretty huge updates to what the story mode is going to entail in Dragon Ball FighterZ. So let's just jump right into it. The two characters that were revealed were Nappa, as well as Captain Ginyu. Now, not knowing a huge amount about Dragon Ball lore, I absolutely know what the Ginyu Force is and the poses and all that kind of crazy stuff, and not too much about Nappa. And the most things I've been hearing from people on Twitter, as well as forum posts and things like that, is that Nappa's one of the characters that is like, what is he doing here? So I'm kind of curious to hear what you guys think in regards to this character. And all things considered, what really sells me about Dragon Ball FighterZ for many of the roster is the gameplay. Android 16, according to many, is the most boring character in every Dragon Ball fighting game that shows up, and he's legit amazing in this game and is incredibly fun. So I'm sort of in the boat that you can take a boring character or a somewhat not as popular character and make them really damn interesting if given the right tools and the right abilities and things like that. And that's Android 16 in a nutshell. So let's quickly talk about the Ghost Nappa. A big shout out to Shonen Games on the translations of these scans. Without them, we'd have no idea what the hell they're saying. The biggest thing that is highlighted on here is the fact that Nappa has really slow movements, but his firepower is like the best in the game. He potentially can do the most damage of any character that's in Dragon Ball FighterZ right now, which is a very, very big thing considering that Android 16 is already the largest character in the roster. And he does really great damage, like not bad damage at all, and to think that another character can kind of take that is a good thing. Now we're going to focus on Android 16 as far as being the grappling character, and Nappa could potentially be like the juggernaut of the game. We definitely don't have a huge, hard, heavy-hitting character in Dragon Ball FighterZ that is just extremely weighted but does crazy damage. That is a character archetype that is sort of reserved for other Arc System fighting games with Potemkin and things like that. So I'm curious if they're gonna go all Potemkin on Nappa and give him command grabs and stuff of that nature, along with his really, really weighted attacks as well as high damage. It'll be interesting. It'll be really interesting if he has the ability to sort of get around the screen sort of uniquely, just like Potemkin, which is smashing the ground, allowing you to dash in. I'm very curious because most characters in this game have access to pretty damn good mobility, and if Nappa's mobility is bad, how are you going to make up for that? Is it going to be through power? Is it going to be through command grabs? And the one thing we can pull from this is that he does use the Cybermen as attacks in some way. Appearing from Planet Seeds, they attack with scratches and explosions like Cybermen do, so he is going to have a variety of Cybermen that attack with him. This could be very similar to what we already see with Android 18 using Android 17 in some attacks. It also mentions that the speed of his attacks is slow, but he really makes up for it with extreme attack power, possibly more attack power than any character in the game. It's also showing one of his level 3s, or potentially his level 3 shooting a powerful beam from his mouth, with a small snippet and screenshot of it right here. Overall, I'm not too thrilled about Nappa. Between all the characters that are in the game, Nappa is like the Android 16 for me right now. It's going to be interesting if he does serve to be the Potemkin/Juggernaut function of the game, LOL. But I would be very happy with a character that just hits like a freaking truck, because there's already several things that 16 does that hits like a truck and causes the world to explode. I want Nappa to do ridiculous things. Let's just make this guy hype as hell, lots of damage, but slow, lumbering powerhouse, and I'll be pretty happy. Now here's the guy I'm the most excited about regarding these characters. Ginyu, I am thrilled that this character exists just based on what he is going to be doing. However, there are some things that I am foreseeing to be a problem just because they're breaking the mold a little bit too much. Ginyu is interesting because he's going to call in members of the Ginyu Force to show off a captain-like fighting style. The key point is his Meteor Special, which is an unheard of move in fighting game history. The coolest part of Ginyu, and it's one of those things that I've always really dug about some fighting games that try this, even though they don't try it very much, is a character that controls several other characters, where one character is just the command, while all the special moves that are appropriated from that one character are different other characters that come in and do stuff. And that's exactly what Captain Ginyu is doing. He uses the Ginyu Force in all of his attacks, and that is freaking awesome. As long as they bust some poses and have some super cheesy moments, that's all I'm gonna ask for. It goes into detail here saying that Ginyu Force members are gonna show up with a special button. Moves will change with your command. It's as if you were fighting while controlling 5 characters, and that's freaking awesome in my opinion. There is one other thing that is kind of crazy that I'm a little worried about. So there's this move that Ginyu appears to have, which he takes control of the character's body and then switches bodies with them. It says right here that you can swap bodies if you're in a tight spot, and that you can change characters with your opponent. This swaps your health as well, so your greatest opportunity is when you're down and on the verge of losing. This is insanity, in my opinion, in terms of fighting game stuff. Being able to use, this is most likely as level 3, but being able to use a super that will pretty much transplant your health over to your opponent's health, and then you take their character, is nuts in my opinion. Like, tournament ban worthy type stuff, but sounds absolutely awesome in terms of gameplay things. I love it. I mean, it could be that I love it because I've already learned how to play the majority of characters in this game, so if I need to swap out for a Boo or a Frieza or Cell or Goku or whatever, I'd be totally fine with that if I'm low on health with Ginyu and then can just absorb the other character. And then, I'm not too sure if the other person turns into Ginyu. That would be a little bit too much. I'm only assuming that you turn into, like, a clone version of their character. Probably has a different look. We can't really tell from the one screenshot on here, but that is a dramatically out there kind of thing for fighting games. I'd say the only other character that does something similar is 12 in Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, where he essentially turns into a clone of the opposition. But at the same time, it's just you turning into a clone. You don't absorb their health. You don't trade off with the fact that if you don't have any health, you can get another health bar back if your opponent is in high health. That's the part that's insane to me, dude. And it leaves me a little curious what the hell they're going to be doing with that Dragon Ball mechanic in the future. If things are going to get this crazy with character moves, my god, dude. So, Ginyu, I'm super looking forward to. Controlling the Ginyu Force sounds absolutely awesome and is easily one of my most looked forward to characters in Dragon Ball FighterZ right now. So like I said, there's a ton of details in regards to story mode and the ridiculous amount of stuff that appears to be in the story mode for Dragon Ball FighterZ. I'm still trying to wrap my head around all of it because we have 3 pages of scans that just have a ton of stuff on here. The big thing is that it appears that a lot of the characters are going to be falling one after the other, allowing for an opportunity for the player to sort of inhabit the characters that are in Dragon Ball FighterZ. So the story is like super crazy. Like, it appears to be very, very, very kind of like self-aware of what it is, that it's a video game story mode, so that the characters are going to be referencing the fact that they're being controlled by a player. That is something that was mentioned by the Vegeta voice actor. The guy that's actually doing the voice for Vegeta did have an interview, the English voice, where he was saying that the characters are super self-aware that they're kind of like in a video game, so it leads for a lot of comical moments that go throughout the story mode, and there's so many different things that can happen as a result because it's like the player controlling the character, but the character knows that they're being controlled by an external force, and that is directly lining up with what's going on in all these translations, which is gonna be an interesting story mode to say the least. I'm glad that it's self-contained, I'm glad that it's its own thing, but at the same time, that sounds a bit wacky, and I kinda like that. There are mentioning that there are 2 more different stories that are kind of like wrapped around all this stuff, a situation where you can fight alongside Android 18, that complaining that you linked up with Frieza. There's just a lot of stuff on here. I'm gonna go ahead and link to Shonen Games Twitter so you guys can check this stuff out. The story mode I'll absolutely be playing when the game does come out, but I'm not I just want to see it. I just want to play it. I almost don't want to be spoiled by a lot of the things that are happening with story mode. So I encourage you to check out the Twitter link in the description below to Shonen Games if you guys want to check out all these scans to get all the information, because it is plentiful to say the least. That's about it for right now, guys. I am still super looking forward to Dragon Ball FighterZ. The crazy thing is that at the bottom of some of these scans, it goes over all the characters that are currently into the game right now, and it's also mentioning that there are many more characters to come. And speaking in terms of just speculation, I think we might be looking at a roster of at least 25 characters at launch for this game. If it's anything more, I'm going to be rather surprised, but I do think that they're saving some characters, like maybe even Gotenks, maybe even Brawly, for later DLC stuff. I think some of these characters kind of fit that boat very well, but at the same time, I don't want to start going into predictions of DLC and things like that because the main roster hasn't even been announced. Let's just wait till all the core characters are announced, and then we'll start talking about all the ridiculousness that could happen in the future. I was definitely surprised that some characters like Nappa made it into the game. pretty much based on the way everyone seems to be responding to Nappa making it in. I'm a Cooler fan, I just want to see Cooler in one of these games, so we'll see what happens there. The last bit, and it's very interesting, was the official release date for Dragon Ball FighterZ in Japan, which is going to be happening on February 1st, 2018. It's even earlier than I thought it was going to be, which is absolutely nuts. The problem is, the launch date for the game in Europe as well as the Americas has not officially been set yet, specifically going over a general time frame of early 2018 or February 2018. So here's the thing, the Japanese version is going to be available most likely before any other territory for this game, which has happened a few times in the past with Arc System Works games. So, what I have done, because I don't want to wait for games like, Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2 or Guilty Gear, Xrd back when it came out, I would always get the Japanese versions of these games when they did come out. And for some of you guys that are maybe willing to double dip on Dragon Ball FighterZ, if you really want to get like maybe a week or a few days ahead of time, I'll be making a guide closer to the release of Dragon Ball FighterZ of how you can make a Japanese account on PSN. There are several guides out there if you want to look into it right now, how and what website you need to go to add yen to your account. It's very simple and really not as hard as it had been in the past with PlayStation 3. So if you guys are curious, and especially for myself because I'll be double dipping on the game for sure, getting the Japanese version as well as the America version, I will show you guys my methods, how you can get the game a few days early by making another PSN account. But hopefully that won't be the case. The game will come out with all the territories like right around the same time. That is kind of normal and what people expect with video games nowadays. So let's hope that happens, that it just launches around February 1st or 2nd for everybody. But in case not, I'll be grabbing it early as soon as possible to get footage and play online and everything like that. As always, dudes, thank you a ton for watching. I'll be back with more Dragon Ball FighterZ updates very soon. If you enjoyed the video, I definitely appreciate a thumbs up. My name is Max, and I'll see you next time.